Another thing that I want to talk about though is I got a comment on last week's podcast. Dude was real, like, he was real respectful with it. But it was a genuine question. It was a good question. He asked, he said, "Hey coach, no hate, but what is your like? Are you a pro or something? Like how can we know that we should trust what you're saying? How do I know that what you're saying is actually right?" And again, I thought it was a really good question. And I actually think he might have deleted his comment because I didn't see it when I looked at it. But maybe I don't know, maybe I just missed it. But my response to him basically was like, okay, do what I'm telling you to do. Do what I do. Like, take my advice. Do it. If it doesn't work, then don't listen to me. Just unsubscribe, unfollow me, like block me, whatever you want to do. Like, don't follow me. Like, don't listen to what I'm saying. If what I tell you doesn't help you, then you shouldn't listen to me. Like, you should just. And that goes to anybody. If anybody who you see, it doesn't matter who they are. If what they tell you doesn't help you, then don't listen to them. If let's say, for example, LeBron James told you that if you want to become a better athlete, you should cut your left leg off. Hopefully you wouldn't listen to him, okay? Because just because he's LeBron doesn't mean that you should just listen to what he says. And likewise, it's the opposite way. Just because somebody isn't LeBron doesn't mean that they can't tell you something that's going to help you. Okay, so again, it really comes down to, does what I'm telling you get you results? Does what your trainer or what a person you listen to, do they help you get results? That's really what it's all about, okay? Because we can forget about the whole authority thing, like, oh, this guy played in the NBA, so he clearly knows what he's talking about. Listen, Brad Stevens, Steve Kerr, Phil Jackson, Greg Popovich, all those guys are obviously great coaches, and all of them were really, really good players too. None of them were stars, but and obviously Brad Stevens didn't even play Division I basketball, but all four of them were really good players. Three of them played in the NBA, but none of them were like big time players. Like none of them were stars by any means at all. But despite that, all of them are fantastic coaches. I mean, between Steve Kerr, Phil Jackson, Greg Popovich, that's 3 Hall of Famers as coaches. And Steve probably a little bit of both, player and coach, because won so many titles. But 3 championships as a coach. Obviously, great team, but still, like your coach plays a role in that. And Brad Stevens, I think Brad Stevens will be a Hall of Fame coach one day. Right? He's already on pace to be really the most winningest coach ever in Celtics history. So I think he's going to be a Hall of Fame coach as well. All 4 are tremendous coaches, but none of them were Hall of Fame players. None of them were Hall of Fame, and all of them were all NBA, superstars. They weren't. But assuming that because they weren't superstars, they can't help a superstar is what's called the authority fallacy, right? Where you might say, hey, this guy only played here. He didn't play in the NBA, so how can he train that guy? If that were the case, nobody could train Michael Jordan, nobody could train LeBron, nobody could train Kobe Bryant. I mean, Tim Grover, who was basically Michael Jordan's trainer, Tim Grover is not in the NBA Hall of Fame or the Basketball Hall of Fame, right? But he still was able to help Michael. So it really comes down to, can you help somebody, right? Because who cares about, what, like, who played where, who played here? Because here's the thing I'll say. Over the past couple of years, I've been able to coach with, work with a lot of really, really good coaches, okay, just in my area. And I've also worked with a few bad ones, coaches who just were terrible. They were just horrible. And a couple of them played Division I basketball, played pro basketball, and yet they are horrible coaches. Awful, like to the point where they make their teams and their players worse, right? They are horrible coaches. And some of the best coaches that I work with didn't even play college basketball, right? And they make their players better. They make their teams better. So what that goes to show is that it really has nothing to do with where you played at, with all. It really depends. Like, can you help your team win? Can you help your guys get better? That's all that matters at the end of the day. Doesn't matter at all. And so the funny thing with that too is, like, some of those D1 and college guys, like, they're not even good trainers. Like, forget like team coaching, they're terrible at it, but they're not even good at training either, which is remarkable to me. And again, some of the trainers that I know who didn't play at a high level, who maybe played, didn't play college or maybe played lower level college, like they're way better at it. Okay, because a lot of times, listen, players at the D1 at the pro level are there because they have, great height, great athleticism, stuff that really can't be taught. right? That you're born with. Okay, obviously everyone had to work at it to an extent, but not everyone had to work the same at it. Okay, so if you get to the D1 level because you're way bigger than everybody else, well, you didn't have to put in the same amount of attention to detail as that, 5'9" point guard, right? He had to put in a lot more attention to detail because he can't afford to not do that, right? But if you're 6'10", then you're just going to be there because you're 6'10", right? And that's really what it comes down to is guys saying, oh, he played here, so he knows this. She played here, she knows this. But if they didn't, like, you have to look at the context, right? Of okay, what did they do when they were there? What position did they play? So it's a all-encompassing sort of thing. But that. I obviously didn't say all that to the guy in the comment, but that was kind of my thing. It's like, take my advice, take my workouts, take whatever I'm doing, see if it works for you. If it works, keep doing it. If it doesn't work, then don't do it. I don't want you to, I want you to go find something that works for you. Okay. I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, like it's your fault that no, just don't do it. Okay. And that's really my plea to you. And I would hope that you'll take me up on that. And then if there's somebody else out there that you are listening to just because they did this or did that, evaluate what they're saying. And if it works for you, cool. Then that's awesome. Right. But if not, then find something that does. Okay. That's really what it is. For me, I think about it all the time because there's a lot of guys that you can listen to. I take like, NBA analysts, right? If you look at guys who are on TV, and a lot of them who played in the NBA don't know anything. They can't talk about the NBA, okay? There are guys who were superstars in the NBA, guys who are Hall of Famers who, when I listen to them give their basketball opinion, I'm like, this dude has no clue what he's talking about because this dude came in the NBA. He was better than everybody else. He's bigger, faster, stronger than everybody else. So he's an NBA Hall of Famer, right? So he has not had to. A guy who I love is Jay Williams, right? Played at Duke, had a crazy accident, and then ended up not played. I think played a couple years for the Bulls, but didn't really have a crazy good NBA career or anything like that. He, I think, is one of the best NBA analysts out there, despite not being a Hall of Famer. Okay, and that's because a guy like that has to work his way up throughout the ranks, right? He doesn't just get a job as an analyst because of his NBA career. Like a lot of these other guys get careers because they were good NBA players. Jay Williams had to work at it, and I think because of that, he carefully does his research, plans out his opinions, and talks about good points. Okay, but there are other guys. I'm not going to call people out. There are some guys who are on TV who are only on there because of their playing career. They don't know anything about basketball aside from being better than everybody else, and they don't have to do the research because they just say, hey, you know what? I'm a Hall of Famer, so I can say whatever I want. And that's really how it is. It's the same thing with coaches and trainers. Like guys who just say, hey, I did this here, I played here, I did this. That they can use that to justify saying like you have to listen to what I'm saying. But that's not always the best case that's always the best thing to follow as a player. Okay, be critical, be skeptical, figure out what works, and stick with that. That's my advice to you.